In this video, we're going to be talking about setting up audio and MIDI devices. In the previous video that we had, we talked about the general functions available in Cubase. So specifically for this video, we're going to be talking about how you can set up audio and MIDI devices. Here we have the project window, no tracks loaded. Now, the first thing you want to do when you want to record in Cubase is you go to devices. Go to devices right here on this toolbar, devices, and you go to VST connections. VST connections. The shortcut is F4 on your keyboard, on your Windows keyboard. The shortcut is F4, but if you don't have any shortcuts assigned, you come to devices and then you click VST connections. On the inputs tab, this is what we have, but I will take this all out so you can understand what is going on. We have an empty inputs tab right now. So whenever you want to add an instrument or add an input, let's say you have a microphone input, you right click, and then you have an option to select a mono track, to select a stereo track, to select surround tracks. It depends on you, but at this moment we're going to be using a mono track. Now this is the bus name, this is the speaker configuration mono. We have two mono tracks make a stereo track, and it's usually left and right, but mono is one, and you can see we just have one here. Then I'm going to be opening a stereo track because one of my input hardwares, which is a Montage 8, I record it into Cubase in stereo mode so I can get the full spectrum of the instruments in it. So I'm adding a track to accommodate the tracks or the inputs from the Montage 8. On my physical console, which is also my interface for this video course, the Montage is input into channels 21 and 22. Yes, this interface I'm using for this video, for the sake of this video, which is the physical board, the physical control surface, it has 32 inputs. Yes, 32 inputs. So you can have multiple instruments, maybe a guitar, a drum. You can record a full band with it and record everyone at the same time. That is the benefit of having a multi-input interface, a multi-input console. And for the sake of this class, we are using that, but we're just going to be using 2 or 3 channels. Let's say 2-3 channels for this video. So moving on with inputs, we have 2 inputs now. We have the mono for the microphone. Let's say this is the microphone. We have the microphone. The microphone I'm using right now is input to channel 18 on the console. So I have to make sure it corresponds in this input tab so that it can communicate properly with Cubase. If I put this on channel 17, you can see that this here, there's no input. The input here is not corresponding to the channel that I am on, or the channel my microphone is on. So it's channel 18. You can see that. You can see the signals are coming up. Then for this, let's name it microphone. I would recommend that you name your input tracks for easy visual access whenever you're working in Cubase, because there are situations you could have, let's name this Montage 8. There are situations you could have multiple tracks and you would want to save time by visually recognizing what tracks you have and where your tracks are, so you can save time and hook up whatever input you need to hook up into your tracks. But this is where we are at. We've set up 2 inputs. So we have the microphone properly set up, and then we have the keyboard setup inputs. Then we'll move on to outputs. By default, Cubase gives you a stereo out, and whatever audio interface is connected to your computer would automatically come up here. But if it doesn't come up here, you can come here and just connect. If I say not connected, you can see nothing is connected in this under this device port tab. So when I connect here and I choose the audio interface, it comes up. If you have more than one audio interface, you will have them listed here. But for this, we just have this one, the DN32 USB audio driver. We're making use of the first output and the second output for the sake of this lesson. So our audio inputs and our audio outputs is properly set. Let me just play the keyboard so we can see if signals are coming in through the channel, the input channel for the montage. And mind you, you would see the inputs right here on your console. Yes. You can see we have inputs coming in from the keyboard into Cubase through the inputs we've just set up. Now we have our input set up. We cannot record anything on our project window yet because we don't have tracks for us to record into. This is what you do. You come here, you add track. You either you click this plus sign, or you come to audio, or you come to add track under the projects tab. You say add track, and when you click it, it brings up this dialog box. So for the sake of this video, we are going to be using 3 audio tracks because we have just 2 inputs. This is just to help you understand how the connections are done in Cubase. So let's say we have 3, or let's just say, yes, let's have 3. The configuration is going to be stereo. And I also like to add this. You can, if you have a mono track, if you have a mono input, you can input a mono input into a mono track. So I'm adding these audio tracks now. I could make it mono, but preferably for this video, I would want to use stereo. So let's go. Add track. Then you can see we have these tracks here, and you can see that we have these more parameters for this audio track visible in the inspector panel. Yes, you can see it's available in the inspector panel. So we have more controls here to look at for every track, and every audio track you add in Cubase is entitled to the same parameters. That's really, really beautiful. You have controls over all parameters on individual audio tracks. Now we want to link up the inputs we just set up to these tracks we've created. Here you can see this on this inspector panel. You can see this arrow pointing into this dialog, this little box. It means input. At the bottom you can see this arrow going out of this box. That is the output. So in other words, we have inputs and then we have the outputs, output routing. For this audio one, this track, let's say we just want the microphone to be here on this track. Everything, the microphone should just be recorded on this track. So let's say microphone. You can click, so you come to this input routing here. By default it's selecting montage 8 because we have just 2 inputs. So we can correct that. You can say no bus, and the 2 inputs we earlier created from our VST connections is available here. If there was nothing in your VST connections, if there was no connections made earlier on in your VST connections tab, you would not see, you will have no access to any input here. So these are the two inputs we've been able to create, and they are available for us to view. So for this channel, we're going for the microphone. And whatever name you assign to it here, whatever name you assign to it here, let's go back to the VST connection. So whatever name you assign here is what shows up here. So for this, we have the microphone assigned. Then for this one, let's just leave it for the montage 8. We'll leave it for the montage 8. Yes, montage 8. Now we have our audio inputs routed into our audio tracks. You can see the tracks that are available, the tracks that have been opened in Cubase. You can see them right at this bottom here. This can be disabled if you don't want to see the mixer window right at the bottom here. You can come to the top right here. You can see this show or hide lower zone. The shortcut for that is Ctrl Alternate E. Let's click that and see what happens. Can you see it is gone? You can click it, it comes up again. So if you have multiple tracks and you want to view them, you can, and you don't need the mixer window at the bottom, you can come here and disable it. The same thing goes for the left zone. You can disable it. The inspector panel is gone. You can bring it back. The same thing goes for the right zone. You can hide it. You can see that, and you can bring it back. This is one amazing thing about Cubase. Then let's try to record our microphone. Let's go. So to record, I'm going to be clicking on the transport panel, this record button. The shortcut is, for the sake of this tutorial, I enabled a function in Cubase so you can see the shortcuts that are assigned, and they are also, some of them are default shortcuts. So for this, on your keyboard, like your typing keyboard, is the star button on your numeric pad. It's star to activate that. You can see deactivated. So let's get back. But for this, I'm going to be using the recording or the record button on this transport panel. So let's record. Hello, testing 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Hello, testing 1 2. Mic check 1 2. I just had into Cubase. Let's play back to hear what it is. Hello, testing 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Hello, testing 1 2. Mic check 1 2. That's a preview of this audio event. Recording on this channel, on this track, through the inputs we earlier set up. That is how you record audio. Now let's record sounds from our keyboard. We have an input, so let's say piano. Don't forget, you have to check the input routing and make sure that it is assigned to the corresponding input so as not to have a blank recording. You arm Don't also forget to arm this recording. Enable the track for recording, then you play. Let's come here. You play and record. And that is the recording of the piano. And that is how to record audio into Cubase. See you in the next video.